Welcome. You're listening to the Best of Investing on News Talk 910. This is the show where we present valuable information about real estate, the financial markets, and other economic business of the day. I'm your host, Edward Brown, and I'm pleased to have as my co-host Mark Hanf of Pacific Private Money, California's fastest growing private lender, and Robert Schiff of RPM Mortgage. Our phone number is 888-912-1190. Now make sure you write that number down, 888-912-1190, because you're going to use that number to answer the trivia questions for 3 vacations given away during each commercial break. That's right, we're giving away 9 vacations during this show. The vacations are sponsored by Lighthouse Resort and Marina, which is located 1 hour northeast of San Francisco. The vacations are free. Their only request, a $75 cleaning fee to cover housekeeping expenses. Their website is lighthouse4fun.com. You can reach them at 916-777-5511. And today's trivia theme is initials in business. I'll give you the initials and you tell me the company. Our website is bestofinvesting.com. Check us out on Facebook and YouTube by typing Best of Investing Radio Show. And we're also on television, Comcast Channel 26 on Saturdays at noon and Sundays at 6 p.m. And don't forget, dar.fm is a website that you can use to record our show in the future. And today's special guest is Geraldine Barry, who is the producer of the Expo Silicon Valley. And Geraldine, welcome to the Best of Investing. Tell us, what is the Expo Silicon Valley?
Well, Expo Silicon Valley has a lineup of 22 real estate experts from across the country talking about what's going on in the market. Market timing is a key piece of investing. We will have several panels. We have a capital market panel with 4 top-level investment bankers, including Stephen Kahani of Lone Oak Fund and Ron LaRussa of Fremont Bank. We've got the Mayor of Santa Clara, Jamie Matthews, and the County Assessor, and Nancy Klein, one of the city planners, and Michelle from Foreclosure Radar, speaking on the status of the Valley. And as you know, the Valley is really hot right now. Economically, we're beginning to thrive, and real estate prices are escalating and inventory is low. So we're going to talk about all of these things.
And Geraldine, you know a lot about real estate in the Valley because you're also the founder and president of the San Jose Real Estate Investor Association. Is that right?
That's correct. And we have 3 chapters in the Bay Area. So we're all over the Bay, and we do have our hand on the pulse of what's going on here.
Well, that's exciting. So what's the goal of the Expo?
Well, I think 5 or 6, 10 years ago, you had these expos and there were big sales pitches. And right now, we have the best buying opportunity of our lifetime in real estate. So this expo is bringing together the people that you need as a broker, as an investor, as a very sophisticated investor. We have 3 tracks of education so that you can get the information that you need to make a good, profitable investment decision.
Now, as someone who runs a real estate investor association in the Bay Area, are you seeing a lot of people this year in 2012 coming back into the real estate investment arena? I know last year was a little bit, touch and go, and of course the fourth quarter last year was probably one of the worst markets to sell real estate in. I think it was, or it may have been the bottom of the market, but boy, it's been an interesting year so far.
It has, and things have kind of changed very dramatically in terms of real estate here in the Valley, but not only here. In a lot of the major metro areas, inventory is limited, and so people are beginning to feel like, I need to get back in. With interest rates at historic lows, the prices are right, the cost to rebuild is way more than you're buying for. So when you have that kind of a scenario and you can lock in these great 30-year interest rates, it's a great time to participate. And people are seeing that now. And the stock market definitely has a place in a portfolio, but real estate too should be part of every portfolio as a diversification strategy and as a hedge against inflation.
Well, hey, Geraldine, I was going to ask you, is this expo for experienced investors or novices or both?
It's for all levels. So we have 21 workshops, and so we have one track that's for agents and brokers. How do you deal with investors, IRA investing? Then we have the more basic level, and then we have the more sophisticated level. But the basic level, one of our speakers is going to talk about he's from Arizona, Jason Hartman, and he talks about the 12 commandments of investing. What do you need to do to invest wisely, and what do you need to stay away from? And then one segment that we're having that I feel is a very, very significant piece of investing, especially if you're outside of your hometown, and that is due diligence. How do you do due diligence? We have Chris Clothier from Memphis Invest doing a 2-segment piece on due diligence. And what do you look at? And what are the economic drivers that you need in terms of investing? How many people, what kind of population do you need in an area in order to consider investing there? Personally, I don't want to be in any metro area that's less than 1 million. But there are people that have different strategies and different criteria. But at least if you go and you get educated about it, you can decide that's important to me. Like schools. Are schools important to you? I think if you're in a good school district, you'll get a family to occupy your house and pay it off for you. So there's lots of things that you may not have considered that will be discussed in that session.
Geraldine, this is Robert Schiff at RPM Mortgage. It sounds like a fascinating conference you're putting on. Can you tell me exactly when it is and where it is?
Well, it's Expo Silicon Valley, and it's on September 8th at the Santa Clara Convention Center here in Santa Clara. And it includes free parking, lunch is included, because we know that networking is a key component to investing. And you know, if you can pick up the phone if you have a problem and ask somebody because you've made that right connection, that really helps the process.
I've been to that convention center.
For you as an investor. And so you can register at Expo Silicon Valley, and we do have a code for our friends at Best of Investing. And so when you register, you put Best of Investing, just one word is your promo code, and you can use that to register for a discount.
Thank you very much. I'm sure our listeners would be very happy about that.
So this is an all-day event on Saturday, September 8th. And,
Saturday, September 8th, and we have people who will talk about, we have Lamar Baxter and Jeffrey Hare, attorney, who will talk about investing in your IRA. I own some houses in my IRA, and how does that work? How does one do that? People don't know sometimes that you can use an IRA, an individual retirement account, to invest in real estate, and how, like, what a great thing that is. I see my rents rolling in there every month. It doesn't go up and down. The house was rehabbed after we purchased it. So it's a great strategy for building your long-term wealth. And what we find here in the Valley is that a lot of professionals who work and are immersed in the Silicon Valley want to create some financial freedom, and real estate is the tool to do that.
How many people do you expect to attend the conference?
We expect anywhere from 600 to 1,000 people.
Yeah, that convention center is beautiful.
oh my gosh, that's a great networking opportunity.
Yeah, we're actually in the ballroom. We're not in the dark, dull dungeon.
Well, Mark,
that's the nice part.
But Mark makes a good point that, not only would people get a lot of good education by going to this, but it's a great networking opportunity, during break time and whatever for various people there.
Yes, and as I mentioned, we have the Bay Area Muscle Panel, like the mayor and the county assessor and the city planner, and then Michelle from Foreclosure Radar are going to talk about the numbers here if you're interested in that. And that's why we have 3 tracks, so that if one segment doesn't interest you, you have several others to choose from.
And that's all for one price.
All for one price.
That's great. Okay, Geraldine, stay with us in the studio. We're going to cut to a commercial break. Got a quick little announcement here for our friend Kramer, the videographer. Now, listen to this. On Saturday, on September 15th at 11:30 a.m., the Bay Area audience will get a chance to see what it's like to live at ground zero of a capital punishment debate in the shadow of San Quentin State Prison. Eye of the Storm, that's the name of it, premiere at the historic Lark Theater relives the night of the controversial execution of Stanley Tukey Williams. Tickets are $25 online and $30 at the door, but if you mention Best of Investing, you only have to pay $10. Not a bad deal, just mention it right at the door. And all proceeds are going to benefit the local nonprofit Meals of Marin. Kramer's a good guy here. And with KTVU's own Pam Cook as the MC and a question and answer session to follow, the film is meant to encourage a discussion about the media, capital punishment, and freedom of speech. That'll be quite interesting.
Awesome.
You can watch the theatrical trailer and purchase tickets at www.mealsofmarin.net. Thank you, Mr. Kramer. All right, okay, we're going to cut to the first commercial break, and again, the trivia theme is initials in business. The business 3M. What do the 3 M's stand for? The first 3 callers with the correct answer win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Their website is lighthouse4fun.com. Call 888-912-1190. That's 888-912-1190 to answer this question. The business 3M. What do the 3 M's stand for? And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they make Post-it notes, don't they?
They do.
They do. 888-912-1190. Make sure to include your name, email address, and speak slowly and spell out your email for us, 1 letter at a time, please. And we will be right back.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Segment one.
Good job,
That was
Geraldine, so
good.
far.
Thank you.
Welcome. Okay, we're taking off our headsets temporarily because we're at break time. I got to record a couple of things here.
Okay,
All right, stay with us.
I will.
Go ahead and talk if you want.
So when we get back on, let's because that was actually so we do want to repeat that the expo is
Yeah.
Saturday, September 8th.
Yeah, we should definitely.
Yeah.
There was a story about the Post-its that they were trying to make a special kind of glue and they found it didn't work. I don't know if that's
That's how it got invented.
It's an amazing, amazing.
Do you guys know what the 3M stand for?
Yes.
You do?
Yeah.
See, not everybody knows.
Marketing.
We'll let
Michigan?
Robert answer the question on that one.
Well, maybe I'm wrong. But I
Yeah,
don't know the
that's
answer.
okay. That's okay. Okay. Let's get this.
Manny Moda.
Manny Mo. Manny Mo and Jack. I say Pep Boys, Manny Mo and Jack. That's what that
That's
is.
right.
Yeah.
They were from Baltimore growing up.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Is that where you're from?
Yeah.
Oh, no wonder you know him. Okay. Know him personally?
Actually, I think I did.
Really?
Pep Brothers, yeah. I don't know how they went national. Somebody
Pep
bought them
Boys.
out. Yeah.
All right, good.
Okay, so now when we get back, let's finish off with Geraldine. With
Okay.
what do we want to specifically talk about with her, like when we first come back?
We can talk a little bit about her guest, Bruce Norris.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's always a good. That's a good.
Okay,
call.
that's a good one. Okay,
Anybody in real estate in California has heard that name at least once.
isn't he the guy with the martial arts? Oh, that's Chuck Norris.
No.
Wrong guy. Okay, sorry.
You're a nut.
Okay.
I'm going to buy your property now.
Yeah. Okay,
Hey,
ready?
stop laughing at me, friend.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have to do 5 seconds of silence here as he winds his watch.
How long was that
Okay.
first session? That seemed like.
That was 11 minutes and 5 seconds.
Okay, good.
Ready?
Yep.
All right. Welcome back to the Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark Hoff of Pacific Private Money and Robert Schiff of RPM Mortgage. And on the phone in the studio, we have Geraldine Barry, who is in charge of the Silicon Valley Expo that we'll get into in just a minute. But when we cut to the first commercial break, we asked this first trivia question. The theme is initials in business. The business 3M. What do the 3 M's stand for?
Well, it
Go
was
ahead.
the Minnesota company that mining and manufacturing.
That is correct. Minnesota Mining and Manufacturing. Very good,
I wouldn't have
Robert.
guessed that in a million years.
Not in a million years. Okay.
Good.
Geraldine, can you tell us what, there's a couple of extra special guests that you have, right, for the expo?
Yes, one of the guests that we frequently have at the SJREI is Bruce Norris. And Bruce is a market timing expert, and he's developed his expertise over 30 plus years in the business, and he has a very good track record. In 2005, he came to our organization and talked about the financial crisis on the horizon and the fact that outlying areas would be pounded in terms of real estate prices, and a lot of our members, including myself, exited the market at that point.
He wasn't very popular when he made that prediction, Geraldine, was he?
People didn't want to hear, you never want to hear bad news, you know what I'm saying? When people did not want to hear that the market was going to tank, they thought real estate goes up forever, exponentially, and so it fell on deaf ears to some degree, but those of us who took action, I actually liquidated my primary residence after we liquidated our investment properties and rented for 6 years.
Wow.
And just popped back into the market a year and a half ago now, and I'm very happy with that, with the way things played
That's
out.
amazing to be able to. I mean, it's one thing to sell rental property, but to sell your personal residence?
Well, what I did was I moved down within walking distance of my children's school, so it kind of simplified my life. And then I thought it would be for a couple of years, but it turned into 6. And so sometimes things don't play out the way you intend. And, now we got back in, and I think we got in at a very good time. Now we see prices escalating here in Silicon Valley again.
So we're talking with Geraldine Barry, who's the producer of the Silicon Valley Expo, which is going to be this coming Saturday,
No,
September
next
8th.
Saturday.
Next Saturday.
Yeah.
Well,
A week from today.
a week from today, yes, next Saturday, September 8th. And is Bruce Norris your keynote speaker, or is he just one of the many great
Bruce is one of
speakers?
my speakers. To be honest, we have so many incredible speakers now. We have, as I mentioned, we have a bunch of heavyweight bankers that are doing a panel on, the capital markets and what's going on with them. We have Jason Hartman. We have Tom Wilson from Wilson Properties. We have Kevin Kazmarek from Capital Blueprint. These are all people who are at the top of their game. And as I mentioned, I think off air, they're contractually obligated not to sell from the workshop floor.
So this is information,
Just
not
information
sales
only,
pitch.
yeah.
Okay,
And then
well, that's good.
will people?
I like that.
Yeah,
I hate when I go somewhere and I get a big sales pitch. Give me the meat.
will there be question and answer time at the end of each session?
I doubt it, because but the speakers will be available to mingle, and we'll be having a meet and greet with them afterwards, and they'll be available. But I think that I've seen the presentations, and they're going to take the full 40 minutes. So every segment is 40 minutes.
So that's actually really important, and bears repeating, Geraldine, that this is not like that event that they used to host in San Francisco for several years, where you'd go listen to somebody and every single speaker was selling their back of the room, $1,500, run back there with your credit card and buy some program that wouldn't work.
Absolutely not.
So this is
what
not
we
that.
like to say in my office is Donald Trump will not be attending.
That's right.
Anyway, but yes, it's all about the content.
Well, and we talked a little bit before the show, Geraldine, how Bruce Norris, who I think is a fabulous speaker, and I like to go anywhere where he's going to be talking about real estate, and his most recent newsletter just came out, and he is very bullish on real estate. Now, he's predicting that based on a number of variables, which he talks about in his newsletter, he's thinking that there's a strong possibility that real estate prices might actually spike up in the next year. And we're certainly seeing, at least right now, not a whole lot of inventory out there for real estate investors.
Right. And even you're seeing Arizona, where inventory levels are lower, but prices are coming up. And it's not just in California. There are other cities, too, that are experiencing, the inventory levels that are a little bit lower. And so it looks like we have powered through some of this inventory, and the banks were expecting this big release of inventory that never really happened. So this was a very different cycle for us.
It really was. In fact, I think for the last 3 years, we've been talking about the second wave or the coming, the second tsunami of all that shadow inventory. And quite frankly, it doesn't look like at this point that really is going to materialize, that the banks have figured out another way to work through that. And as a result, if that inventory is not forthcoming, then that really adds upward pressure to prices.
Well,
And
what
I
do you
think
think
that's
they're
good.
doing? What do you think they're doing?
And even in terms of government intervention, when the government intervenes and foreclosures don't move through the process the way they should, it impacts inventory levels. And so we've had a lot of intervention that's artificial. And so you're seeing the impact of that now. The inventory is definitely being burned through.
I think the banks have been, for a while, reluctant to foreclose on properties and face the legal ramifications of robo-signing. But I also think that they've pretty much cleared the obstacles to that out. And I think there is a large bank inventory, but like Mark says, they are not either without purpose or with purpose, they're not putting it out on the market.
What are they doing? Are they leasing them out?
Well,
or they just keeping them vacant?
I'm hearing in certain cities where there's really a large amount, they're waiting for the government to say, we'll allow you to go to the people who are still the owners or were the owners and rent it back to them with some kind of plan where they can eventually become owners again. But none of the plans.
That's hysterical if the government gets involved in a program like that too, Fannie Mae. And
yes, and really
it's interesting that they're even bandying that around. But what could prove fruitful for investors in the future is these big hedge funds who are coming in and buying up a lot of inventory, and they can pay more because they're holding it for the long term. But I think they underestimate how much work it takes to actually manage projects.
Well, I know that some big names like Sam Zell and Warren Buffett are involved in some companies that are thinking of buying large amounts of real estate taken off of the bank's portfolio.
Well, they have the money to do the infrastructure.
We know that
management.
funds are doing that. We're seeing a lot of evidence of that. But what I'm saying is they're underestimating the work that's involved with managing a portfolio. It's not like the stock market. These are actually people that you're dealing with, and I think at some point in the future they may want to offload those.
I agree with you. I think they don't realize that unlike stocks, they have leaky faucets and pipes and heat that doesn't work.
That's right, unpredictable.
So then what happens? Are they going to flood the market with sales and all in one shot?
I don't think they've flooded the market, but I think that, I think they've underestimated what they've taken on, and the truth and reality probably won't hit them for a few years, but it's something we should keep our eye on as investors.
I think the key takeaway from this, Geraldine, is that if for those who've been waiting on the sidelines to get back into real estate, I really don't think that we're looking at another dip in pricing due to another wave of foreclosures. I think we've reached price stability and we've reached a floor. And so for those people who are wondering how to get back into real estate or where the opportunities are, there's going to be an awful lot of speakers at this event that are going to talk about markets all over the country where real estate activity is really heating up.
Or also,
we have one panel that will talk about where are the pros putting their money, which it should be a good one. I'll be facilitating that panel.
That sounds great.
But where are the pros putting their money? We want to know.
Also, if people are not pros, they haven't been investors in the past, and they're looking at their IRAs earning, hopefully, maybe 0.5% interest, and realizing there's some safe diversifications they can do, it would be a great opportunity for people who haven't invested before to really jump in and learn about it. It's the beginning of the school year, and that would be a great way to get their education.
Exactly, and I think because because the prices have come down so dramatically, and I don't believe that you have to get in at the very bottom or out at the very top. That's greedy. But in terms of real estate, it's not going to change dramatically overnight. But we are seeing prices increases and inventory is low. So it is time to really consider getting in if you want to, and you want to capture some of these better prices. Now is a very good time, especially when you look at the interest rates as we discussed earlier.
Yeah, and I just want to remind the audience, not remind them, but tell the audience that both Mark Hanf and I are going to be there, so
yes.
You get to come and meet your favorite host of the radio show, The Best of Investing.
Absolutely, it'll be fun and informative.
So, Geraldine, we're going to have to cut to another commercial break, so why don't you, again, give out the website and let people know about the discount.
It's exposiliconvalley.com. exposiliconvalley.com. It's Saturday, September 8th, and it's all day. 8 to 9 is registration, and it's 9 to 5. And then if you register and you use one word, Best of Investing, you will have a discount.
Great. Thank you, Geraldine. Thank you.
Feel free to go to exposiliconvalley.com.
Thank you so much for being our guest today.
Thank you.
We're going to cut to another commercial break here, and again, the theme is initials in business. This one's a little easier. Boy, Robert, you got the other one pretty, that was a little harder. Okay, here's the question. IBM. What does IBM stand for? The first 3 callers with the correct answer win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Their website is lighthouseforfun.com. Call 888-912-1190. That's 888-912-1190 to answer this question. IBM. What does IBM stand for? 888-912-1190. Make sure to include your name email address, and remember to speak slowly and spell out your information for us. And one other thing, we last week we announced that this week we're going to have a special trivia contest. And here it is. Almost half of women don't want their mothers to see what? Here are the rules. No previous winners of Best of Investing. You need to email Edward at bestofinvesting.com by midnight tonight, and the winner will be chosen from among the correct answers we receive, and we'll announce it next week. And the winner is going to receive an overnight stay, just one overnight stay, at the St. Regis Hotel in San Francisco, including breakfast. And that is in the heart of San Francisco's Soma district. The St. Regis San Francisco welcomes guests to one of the best addresses in the world, just steps away from the city's best shopping, restaurants, and cultural attractions. Here, timeless tradition meets modern luxury, from the legendary St. Regis butler service to the hotel's world-class amenities. The hotel is part of the landmark or historic building with a 40-story tower featuring 260 elegant guest rooms and suites and 100 luxury private residences, as well as the adjoining Museum of the African Diaspora. The St. Regis San Francisco delivers an unmatched guest experience, bringing a new dimension of luxury service and gracious living to San Francisco. And that's quite something, and we will be right back. Thank you, Geraldine.
Hey, I wanted to ask you guys if are you coming down and spending the night? Because the night before at the Hyatt Hotel, which is the one attached to the convention center, we're having just a meet and greet in the bar for all the speakers and movers and shakers. So we hope you can join us.
Is that the night before?
Yes.
That's funny. Mark and I were going to drive in early in the morning together. I guess we'll have to talk about that.
We'll ponder that. Yeah.
I'll
Well,
send you an email with details.
Okay.
All right, sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
And thank you very much, guys. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
you so much,
Geraldine.
Geraldine.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
So was there a specific answer to the question, or is the most inventive one?
Wait, hold on a second here. I gotta get.
The most inventive. Most women do not want their mothers to see.
Okay, so yeah, the Expo thing ought to be very interesting, really.
Yeah.
If she is gutsy enough to trust him to get out of everything in 05, because 05 was like,
Oh, I know.
everybody was jumping in.
Was that what his 05
That
was
wasn't
when
even
everyone?
towards the end. That was,
Is that what he said?
That was in
05?
the middle of the
Because the market
Wow.
peaked in like
Seven.
August, September of, well, yeah, I would, the markets that I were in, it was the fall of 06. But certain other markets, depending, kept
Now,
increasing.
when was the term? When did Wall Street jump out? Was that already 06?
No.
It was 07.
07.
I know it's the mortgage broker. I had people come in and wanted to
Yeah.
more and more as it got higher and higher, more and more people jumped on it.
That should be the first hit.
Yes. Somebody said in 1929 they were stockbrokering Wall Street. They went out and they had their shoes shined. And the shoe shine guy was telling the other guys at the stand stock tips. So they went back and sold everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Your shoe shiner gives you stock tips. It's time to sell.
There's nothing personal against them. It's just that by then
Right.
everybody knows.
Right.
And yeah.
No, it's when your
This has
gardener or
been
house
played out.
cleaner gives you
Yeah.
stock
Yeah.
tips.
Okay, do you get this? This thing's
Oh,
very
what do we
interesting
have? What do we have for me today, Edward?
just for you, Kramer.
Okay, Mr. Kramer, have I ever told you how much I appreciate you? I do. Thank you, Mr. Edward.
Because it says you demand.
I'm the man.
You the best.
I'm the man. Thank you.
Alrighty. Okay, so we'll come right into email time.
Sure.
Okay. Excellent.
So you're now looking for people who have projects.
I have been. All year I've been after more lenders than more borrowers than lenders. Yeah. Very borrower focused right now. I mean, I don't have to do anything, and I get at least 2 or 3 calls from new trustee investors a week. So it's kind of like
Of your existing ones or new ones?
new ones, brand spanking new. I added several last week and added another couple this week.
Referrals from,
Yeah, it's just right.
You've
You
been doing it long
achieve
enough,
critical
you know.
mass. Yeah, people just find out.
I heard you on the radio.
I want to know more about trustee investing. Tell me more about
Yeah.
it. So I try to, now it's like I got to qualify. It's like, okay, if you've don't have several $100,000, then
I don't want you to know.
yeah. It's just like, well, then I'm not going to spend 40 minutes on the phone. Quite frankly, it's just.
You know what? We'll talk about that because I just throw them over to me and I'll explain to them for you. Okay. Okay. You guys ready?
Yep.
Okay. Ready, Mr. Kramer?
Ready, Mr. Kramer.
Oh no, that's in the beginning.
That was 11 minutes.
Yeah.
too,
That
That was.
was that was actually 13 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we better not. I better not be error, and it's suddenly it'll cut us off. It won't let us go over.
Not only that, but
Yeah. And now the really important thing is, okay, here we go. Welcome back to the Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark Hoff of Pacific Private Money and Robert Schiff of RPM Mortgage. Thank you guys for being in the studio, of course. My favorite guys, my favorite hosts.
You bet.
Okay, and when we cut to the second commercial break, we asked this trivia question. IBM. What does IBM stand for? That's an easy one.
International Business Machines.
Yeah, that's right. Very good. Okay,
But good.
here is here's email time. Okay, for Mark, we got an email from a borrower here. It says, if I get a hard money loan with you, because the person obviously knows what hard money loan is, are there any prepayment penalties, or can I pay this off early?
Oh, well, that's a very typical question. I'm president of Pacific Private Money. We're hard money lenders in the Bay Area, and hard money loan is essentially, historically the word hard money comes from the idea that it's an asset-based loan as opposed to a loan that requires you to have good credit. And in fact, most hard money borrowers would go to hard money lenders years ago, and that's kind of a lender of last resort. If the bank wouldn't make you a loan, you'd go to a hard money lender and you'd pay high rates and fees. Well, that model's changed a little bit since the turn of the market after 2007 and 8, when the market crashed. The banks exited the lending industry largely to real estate investors. So now they're really focused on making consumer home loans. And if you want to buy fix and flip real estate, or you want to buy a rental property, for the most part, your bank's going to say no if you go to them for a loan. So the hard money lending industry is kind of been in a rebirth in the last 5 years. In fact, many of the newer companies call themselves private money lenders, like our company, Pacific Private Money. So the features of a hard money loan are that they're generally short-term in nature. So, for example, most of the loans that we're writing right now are 12-month term loans to real estate investors who are looking to buy, fix, and flip. Sometimes we'll do a 2-year loan or a 3-year loan. Some will even do a 5-year loan because some people are collecting rental properties, and again, they're not getting bank financing from their bank, so they're going to the hard money lending industry and trying to get as best as rate possible. But right now, because in some markets real estate prices have dropped so far that you can use a hard money loan, say for 65 or 70% of the purchase price, and yet still get positive cash flow because rents have gone up while real estate prices have gone down. And so it's a pretty interesting market we're in right now. So the questioner was asking, if I get a hard money loan, and a hard money loan rate might be anywhere from 10% to 12% on average, if they want to pay that off early, do they have to pay a prepayment penalty? And so there are hard money lenders out there that do no prepayment penalty loans. You can borrow the money, and if you want to pay it back in 30 days.
Especially if you pay a lot of points.
Well, that's exactly true. I mean, there's really no free lunch. So you're either going to pay, lots of points up front for a no prepayment penalty, or you can pay fewer points but have what's known as like a guaranteed minimum interest, and that's how we do it at Pacific. We generally do 1-year loans, and depending on who funds the loan, because we use private lenders to fund our loans, some of my private lenders won't fund a loan unless they're guaranteed at least 6 months interest. So if someone's borrowing the money and they know it's going to take them 6 to 8 months to fix and flip the property, they'll agree generally to a 6-month minimum.
Yeah, it's going to be rare for someone to be able to borrow money and pay it back within 6 months anyway.
It is, but some people.
I think some of the investors think, oh my God, I got guys who will come in and paint the door and the trim and put it back on the market, and we'll be out of here in 3 weeks. And
a lot of flippers think they're going to.
Oh yes, well they'll learn that.
They'll learn that the hard way.
Yes.
Yeah. But here's the other thing too: is that not only are the banks saying no to borrowers, but even if they do say yes, you have people who would want to deal with you anyway because you're a lot easier to deal with than a bank.
Well, the reason you use hard money is not just because you can't get it from the banks, it's also because there's speed involved. I mean, we're oftentimes closing a loan from start to finish. I mean, from the application to the close of escrow might be 5 business days. And there isn't any bank anywhere that will do that. Another reason is
You can't even get an appointment.
Not even close. You can get a denial in 5
Yeah,
days.
right, exactly.
I mean, another reason is also, quite frankly, all of our loans really are stated income for the most part. I mean, depending on the nuances of the deal, we might ask for tax returns and such, but generally speaking, we're going based on a stated income and from the applicant, and I mean, we will pull your credit and look at it. You don't have to have a high FICO score. I mean, we're kind of looking for danger signs of a borrower that might not be the kind of person we want to make a loan to.
And not all your interest rates are 10% either.
They're not.
You got some stellar borrowers.
We're doing loans as low as 8%,
8%,
which still sounds high, but again, depending, I mean, we're normally loaning to real estate investors, and they have a profit incentive to do a certain real estate project, and they just factor the cost of the money into the project.
Well, yeah, you're not talking about that long either. I mean, it's not like the people have to keep the loan for 30 years. So if they're real estate investors and they plan on getting bank financing someday soon, after let's say a minimum of 6 months goes by, the difference in the interest rate doesn't really cost the borrower that much.
This market, I mean, I remember when the regular interest rates were 8, 9, and 10%,
Sure.
and even higher, and people were buying rental properties, and they figured over the long term it was a good investment. And now, with the way property values have dropped, if you want to buy properties and you can't get financing, even if you kept that loan for years, for 3 or 5 years, it's possible at 8 or 10% with your initial down payment, even though it might be 35%, you could be getting a really high rate of return.
Well, here's the other thing is that the banks won't generally do interest only, whereas Mark will do interest only.
Right,
so
our
from a
loans are
cash
interest
flow,
only payments, yes.
Yeah, so from a cash flow standpoint, you might be kind of fairly close to what the bank is. Of course, the interest rate is higher, but cash flow may be more important to.
But if you're an investor and you're putting down whatever amount you're putting down, even if it's a third of the purchase price, if you look at the rate of return at the end of the year, what you're going to earn on that, I'll bet a lot of the times it can be 8, 10, 12% on cash on cash.
At least.
And if you can do that in an IRA, it's incredible.
And Mark, for those people out there who just heard you talk about borrowing, how are they going to hold you?
We love new borrowers, so check us out at pacificprivatemoney.com. That's pacificprivatemoney.com, or call us at 415-883-2150.
You can also go to
bestofinvesting.com for more information.
Exactly. Okay. Robert, we received an email for you. It says, with the housing market starting to appear to turn around, are the banks starting to loosen up in underwriting? Now, you're a little bit more on the personal residence side.
I'm an RPM mortgage, and we're primarily lending on primary residences or anything that's 1 to 4 units, whether it's for residence or is investing. And the short answer is no, the banks are not loosening up on their regulations. The regulations from the new laws that the government passed are very stringent, and people really have to go through a very diligent, thorough vetting process to get a loan.
And for people listening to us right now, you would think, okay, wait, these two guys are both talking about loans, or are they competing with each other? But not really.
There's no competition at all. I mean, people will either come to me and say, I want to get a loan, and I'll, if it's at all possible, I'll put them into a conventional loan. But a lot of times, once in a while, I have people that say, oh, I want to get a hard money loan, and we find out that we can do it. But the norm is people don't realize how stringent the new laws are, and they want to invest. And I say, well, maybe after a couple of years of having your job back for 2 years, if you're self-employed, or fixing your credit that maybe got hurt in a short sale during that time, you still could benefit by taking advantage of the low prices now and buy a property and go to someone like Mark, hopefully Mark and his company, and get a loan to own the property and take advantage of the low prices. And maybe a year or 2 years later, when whatever the impediment to them getting a regular Fannie Freddie loan was removed and they were able to, they could come back and we could switch them into a long-term, hopefully still low-interest financing.
What kind of rates are you seeing nowadays?
On residences, they're well below 4% in the high threes for a 30-year fixed, even below 3% for a 15-year fixed. If you're buying rental properties, they could be as low as 4.25% for a 30-year fixed if the loan was conforming.
And how many points on the residence versus?
You can get no point loans for you can qualify for Fannie and Freddie
That's
financing.
amazing. You know, one of the other things, just going back to Mark for a quick second here, you know, when you look at a closing statement, a lot of times the banks will have a lot of extra fees that you wouldn't have with as an example, going with Mark.
Well,
Right.
with our fees are usually a little bit cleaner. It's like you have points, and you'll know exactly what those are, and then we have one, maybe two fees depending on the loan, but there might be a documentation fee and a processing fee. There's not
a
15 different
review
fees.
of the appraisal fee
Right,
and
none of
this
that-
fee,
none of
that
that
fee, and the other
nonsense.
thing.
Yeah, on a normal Fannie Freddie loan, there could easily be $3,000 in closing costs, no points, no origination
Exactly.
fee, but the bank's going to do their processing and underwriting and appraisal review and wire.
But if you can
fee.
get less than 4% interest, then 3,000 is not a bad deal.
Yes, and they
Yeah.
could be functioned into the loan. They could be factored into the loan where you didn't have to come out of pocket for it.
Okay, we're going to cut to our third and final commercial break, and the trivia questions have to do with initials in business. Okay, Robert, I'm going to try to stump you on this one. What does NCR stand for? The first three. Do you know that one too?
Yeah.
Oh man, the first three. Okay, what does ZXK stand for?
Oh.
Okay, the first three callers with the correct answer are going to win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Their website is lighthouse4fun.com. Call 888-912-1190. That's 888-912-1190 to answer this question. NCR. What does NCR stand for? And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they make ATM machines. And no, we're not asking what does ATM stand for. Okay, make sure to include your name, email address, and remember, please speak slowly and spell out your information for us one letter at a time. And we'll be right back. I didn't think you guys
The
would know that.
ZHK is Zahakstan Hibernia Bank.
What does it stand?
Zahakstan.
Not that one. I don't care what that one stands for.
National Cash Register.
No credit removed.
No credit required.
No credit required.
That's right.
And we would have also accepted no carousing round. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I remember being a kid and remember being amazed that I figured out that Esso was Standard Oil and Bisco was National Biscuit Company, and I thought that was just the weirdest coincidence.
Yeah.
They had their TNG.
Yeah, well, this is, we can talk a little bit with
Yeah, just say what do you want to go.
So this is Bruce Norris's, $130 annual subscription to be on his monthly newsletter. And this is the first newsletter that he put out where he predicted perfect storm is brewing for temporary price increases, maybe dramatic ones. And he's hedging with temporary because, again, no one really knows what might happen with the fact that there actually is non-performing inventory of significant numbers. But then he goes into he has 16 different things that are happening in the economy right now that all of which could contribute to inventory staying tight. There being basically no significant net addition of resale inventory via foreclosures. And he talks about all these various programs that like here's Chase is sending letters to their clients to provide relief more quickly. Chase executives are addressing the borrower fatigue with a letter sent to borrowers notifying them that their loan was refinanced to a new mortgage with a lower interest rate, no documentation needed. In other words,
I
there's a
knew
lot of
someone that got that letter.
so that's happening. Then there's
What's the
legislation
receipt? Look at
proposed
I
that's
bought an
supported by
item for
Geiger
$6
Yeah.
and it was
establish
paper.
a temporary government
And they
backlog
gave me all
that
this
would
for a
allow
refund
about
and
8
all this
million
advertising.
underwater
Staples or
borrowers to
whatever.
refi at a lower interest rate at no cost
It's gonna be
to
hard to
taxpayers. This would include principal reduction.
This time we only have 7 minutes.
Right, so this will be a short one. Yeah.
Kind of short one. Okay, so I'll cut right over to.
Okay,
with
sure.
regard to.
Yeah, we can just chat about this and other kind of.
What do I call that?
This is
The thinking man's guide.
no, getting a little bit more into why real estate prices might be firming up and in fact might even be going up in the near future.
Okay. You guys ready?
Yes.
On again?
On again. We're ready, Teddy.
Here we go. Welcome back to the Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark Hunt and Robert Chip. When we cut to the third and final commercial break, we asked this trivia question. NCR, what does it stand for? Gentlemen?
That was the National
Cash.
Register. There we go. Very
No
good.
credit required.
Yeah, no credit required. Exactly. Okay, and Mark, you're reading something kind of interesting there about why prices might be firming up.
Well, I'm looking at a newsletter from a renowned real estate investor that I got for August, and it talks about, and this goes back to what we were talking about with Geraldine a little bit earlier, is that many are predicting that not only have prices pretty much bottomed out this year and are firming up, but may in fact spike in the coming 6 to 12 months. And
With a recession potentially still looming?
Well,
they're in the process of it in many markets. I'm seeing so many purchases with multiple offers, and people are offering 10, 15% more than the list price. And
what about the election? Is that going to change anything?
Well, who knows? I mean, really, but without knowing obviously what who's going to be our president upcoming and what that might result in terms of tax policy going into 2013, there's a number of factors, a number of things that are happening right now that are affecting the so-called shadow inventory of non-performing real estate. And so, if you're an active real estate investor out there, you're wondering why there hasn't been more new foreclosures and more REO inventory hitting the market. In fact, if anything, resale inventory right now is about half of what it was at this time in 2011. And so this article points out a number of interesting things. Like, for example, Chase Bank is sending out letters to many of their underwater borrowers, basically notifying them that their loan was refinanced into a new mortgage with a lower interest rate, no documentation required. So that's pretty amazing. And then there's this proposed legislation, which is backed by.
That's a requirement that the big banks have to do a certain percentage of that.
It's all tied to the $25 billion deal that they have with federal prosecutors to settle the so-called foreclosure abuses, robo-signing, etc. So really the banks are literally prostrating themselves to come up with programs that will basically show and prove to the government, to the public, that they're going to go out of their way to try to help underwater borrowers and not to foreclose little old ladies, grandmothers, and families out into the streets. So another one that I think, another program that is at least been proposed, which I find interesting, is, and this one is backed by Treasury Secretary Geithner, and that would be a proposal to establish a temporary government-backed trust that would allow about 8 million underwater borrowers to refinance at a lower rate.
That's shades of returning to the Resolution Trust Corporation.
Well, and it says at no cost to taxpayers. Of course, I don't believe that for a minute, but this is a program that would allow principal to be reduced, and the loans would be refinanced into FHA-backed mortgages. So if you're a homeowner and let's say you're a homeowner and you're upside down and you're not making your mortgage payments, and you're reading about all this stuff that banks are supposedly doing to avoid foreclosing, because quite frankly, in this political market, the banks really don't want to. It's politically incorrect to foreclose on a home. That if I were a homeowner sitting in that situation, I wouldn't make payments either, because they're talking about the government coming along to rescue me.
A lot of that second program you mentioned was it's supposed to be for people who are current on their loan.
Well, that's exactly right, and that I was remiss in not saying that. That is for
small.
Well, for those people,
I have a bunch of clients and they've been paying for a long time, and they're upside down.
Right.
There's very little likelihood over the past few years that they would ever see their property appreciate to the point that it would be not underwater. Although it looks like that's maybe a possibility now. They've been diligently paying their payments, even if it's a rental property, because they want to keep their credit good. That's so important. They always were taught, you pay your debts, you don't doesn't matter. It's their fault that they went into it. They don't want to cry on somebody's shoulder that they invested at the
They're
moment.
taking
And there are a
responsibility.
lot, yeah, there are a lot of people.
It's
like
actually
that out
nice
there.
to see that the government would propose a program for people who have taken that position of, this is a contract, it's a moral issue for me, I'm not going to walk away from my obligations. Here's something that if you're current on your payments, there's a potential program coming along that may allow you to actually get a principal
Sure.
reduction.
And also the banks would benefit in the long run by
Yeah.
doing that because they would
It's
have
cheaper
a
than
performing
foreclosure.
loan
Yeah.
on their books.
Yeah.
So all that is other indications that the process we've seen over the last few years where more people let their properties go because there's so many foreclosures and there's short sales and the prices go down because of the comparable
Yep.
short sales, that's all seeming to come to an end, at least in the area we're in the greater Bay Area, where we're seeing so many multiple offers on properties.
All right. Thanks,
So
guys.
stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Yeah.
More to be revealed.
Just want to remind people, go to, what is it, Expo Silicon?
ExpoSiliconValley.com.
Yeah,
A week from Saturday.
Saturday the 8th.
Saturday, and get a discount by putting in the code Best of Investing. And we're going to cut to our thoughts for the day here. Be careful about reading labels on prescription bottles. I was concerned when the doctor told me that I had to take a certain medication for the rest of my life, and then the bottle said, no refills. It reminds me of the time I felt so ill, I asked the doctor how much time I had to live, and he said, 10. I said, 10 what? Years? He goes, 10, 9, 8, 7. Okay, quick, before I expire, tune in next week to the Best of Investing. We're going to be giving away 9 more free vacations and throwing a little levity in there for answering trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm Edward Brown, wishing you the best of investing. So long.